Hey there, Brittany here. I decided to start this series of how our family of seven lives on an income of 70,000. Well, it's a little under 70,000 a year gross. Part of that is actually a profit sharing bonus that my husband gets around the week of Christmas, which is taxed and counts as part of his income. So we actually live on, even less. Um, we we have five kids. Our oldest just turned 17, and our youngest is 4 months. Um, we both came from a lower income families. My husband came from very low income, and I came from on and off, kind of lower to middle, lower to not as low, I would say, income. My mom remarried at one point, and my stepdad had a really good job, and my mom did a home daycare and made pretty good money doing that at that time as well. But otherwise, we both came from pretty low income families. Neither of our families taught us how to save money, how to invest anything. Nobody told us, buy a house, pay it off, you know, anything like that. We rented our whole lives up until literally we bought our first house 3 years ago this month. Well, July 20th, 3 years ago, July 20th. Um, Nothing. But on the same path, our families didn't have like huge debt either. Besides, the normal stuff, house and car. Our families weren't real into credit cards, things like that. So to be honest, my husband and I, we made it up into our 30s before we ever had credit cards. The only thing we ever took on payments for were cars. My husband, 20 years ago or so, worked at a buy here, pay here car dealership. And so he would go to the auction and pick whatever car he wanted. And of course, they would finance it for him. So that was the only thing we ever really did payments on besides just our normal monthly bills. We've rented our whole lives. 5 or 6 years ago, we decided we want to buy a house soon. And so we started looking into our credit. My husband's credit was poor to fair, I would say. And mine, at like 30 years old, 31, was in A. I had no credit, nothing. I had never had anything in my name other than like the power bill or the water bill. Well, those don't report to credit unless you go delinquent. So I just had no credit score. So I got approved for my first credit card, $300 from Capital One, and it was a zero interest. I didn't have to, it was unsecured. I didn't have to put any money into it or anything like that. So I got that $300 card, and we used it here and there. No big deal. Paid it off. I had a perfect payment record. I never missed a payment. Was never late on anything. They bumped me up to 500. I thought, well, snap. This is great. And I thought we were really doing things then. And so we kept on, we would use it here and there, pay it off every time, every month we're making our payments. And that was great. And then it went up to 1,000. And I was like, oh, dang, we're really doing the dang thing. We're doing it right. This is how you do it. And so that's what we thought. Well, it was helping our credit, having the good payment record and keeping it, below, so much of our, like, I think they say, like, keep it, less than 30% of your allowed, credit or whatever. And it won't hurt your score. So we did that. And then my husband decided to go get one as well. I think he got like Bass Pro or something like that. Yeah, Bass Pro Shops card. And so eventually we each had a $5,000 limit on one credit card. And then I even got a second credit card. And I think he did too. I think we had up to like $20,000 in credit limits at one point. Never did we owe anywhere near that. The most we ever owed was like $3,500, and we were stressed. We did not like it. We had put like our entire Christmas, for our kids onto the card, 1 or 2 years in a row, and realized pretty quickly that if you're just making minimum payments, you're never going to pay that off. Then I found Dave Ramsey. Got super heavy into Dave Ramsey. Decided this is horrible. We got to get away from these credit cards. We're never going to pay them off. And then I also got into minimalism. So I was like, we've just we got to reel all this stuff in. We've got to cut this back. Our credit is fine now. We both got our credit up to, good, in the good range. My husband's was almost in the great range or whatever it is. His was really good. Mine was like in the 700s, and I didn't even have a job. So, that was pretty good. But our main goal was we wanted to buy a house. Then COVID happened. And when the interest rates tanked way down to, 2.5%, 3%, whatever it was, we were like, we got to get in it now, because I had been listening to Dave and I'm like, oh my gosh, 30-year loan and, all this interest. And I don't want to take on all these payments. I'm a very cheap, frugal, whatever you want to call it. I've always been that way. I've always been pretty cheap and frugal. Not a big spender, never have been. Neither is my husband, really. So I was like, just the thought of paying interest on something I feel like it's for nothing. Obviously it's for the financing, but it's like, I can't do that. I don't like just giving money away. We don't have it like that, So I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. It's our time. 3%. We got to buy a house now. So we got lucky. Very lucky. I found a house on Zillow at 2 a.m. Right before I was going to bed one night. I pulled up Zillow. I was like, let me just look, just see what's out there real quick. If anything popped up, boom, for sale by owner. Our home, 2.67 acres, right where we wanted it to be. Cute little house to get us started on our first purchase of a home and property. A couple acres, which was just enough for us to not be overwhelming. But mainly my husband wanted to be within, 15, 20 minutes of his job. Plus our hometown is right next door, and we're out in the country in a good little town, and we're close to, just everything we wanted to be close to. So we jumped on this place. We were the only people to look at it. I told the previous owners, I said, don't answer the phone. This was on like a Saturday. Bank didn't open until Monday to get our, approval letter or whatever for our loan. I said, don't answer the phone. Take the sign out of the yard, take it off of Zillow, please. This is our home. I already know it. I can feel it. We're going to buy this house. We'll offer you full price, whatever we have to do. And that's what we did. And we got it. We closed, a month and a half later, and this is it. Now our goal is to pay this off. We've paid off those credit cards. We don't owe anything on those credit cards anymore. We still have them. We've cut up a couple of them, but I still, for whatever reason, I don't have a debit card. My husband we only have one debit card, and he always has it. And occasionally I have to go somewhere without him. And I've been in a situation where I was like, oh no, I forgot to get gas, and I forgot to get some cash for my husband. And I've had to use my credit card to put $20 in the tank. Not a big deal. We pay it off right away. But I just feel like, I like having that. I'm sure I could use a gift card or something, prepaid gift card or something the same way, which I probably, now that I think about it, I probably should do that anyway. But, okay, so we still have them. We just don't use them. Anyway, so that's what's gotten us to this point. Now we bought our house for $125,000. Our mortgage payment is $996. We've been paying like $1,240. And we've been making bi-weekly payments, because bi-weekly payment actually puts you at an extra payment every year. You make, 52 weekly or whatever, not 52, but you end up making 13 payments, I guess, instead of 12 when you do it bi-weekly like that. So that shaves, a huge chunk off your total time of payment for your mortgage. Plus we've been paying an extra $244, I guess, every month, because we pay $1,240. We just pay like $620 and $620 on those biweekly payments. So we've been paying even that little bit extra, which, we don't really have money like that, but I'm just making it happen. I do babysit my niece through the school year. Her grandparents are teachers, so they have the summer off. So I haven't had her all summer. We're going into August now. We're in August now, and so she'll be coming back in a week or so. So, but that's only $240, $240 a month. It's only $60 a week. So it's not some great, income. So that'll be basically covering the extra that we're paying on our mortgage. We do have our 5 kids. Now 3 of them play sports. My daughter's sports, she plays flag football. That's her first year. She did cheer last year, and so it doesn't cost much. She's 6. And then my 13-year-old does travel baseball, basketball, middle school baseball, and then he's on a bowling league in the winter. My 17-year-old does travel baseball, which is expensive for his. This year he had 7 out of 9 of his tournaments were a hotel stay required out of town. That adds up. He got a job this year with his dad to help pay for that because it was an extreme expense. We wouldn't have been able to afford to do that if he hadn't gotten a job and helped out. Plus, in the spring, my husband umpires for baseball for like younger kids and saves every penny of that in an envelope. And that goes towards helping pay for those hotels, the travel costs, the food expenses while they're gone, spending money, things like that. So that's just how we afford that. My 17-year-old plays travel baseball, high school baseball, football, basketball, and is on the bowling league with my 13-year-old. They bowl in the wintertime. So, all these things, they add up and we make it happen. It's not easy. Our grocery bill, we keep to a pretty bare minimum. We did process our first beef cow in March, or had it processed, and we raised him up on grass, fished him out on grain. So it didn't cost us a whole lot, to raise him up for 2 years. And then we had him processed, which cost us like less than $400. And we have the meat from that. So we don't have to buy beef at all right now. I also processed meat chickens last year and the year before. So I have a freezer full of whole, clean, good, healthy chickens that I processed myself here on our homestead. We raised them up and processed them here. We also did pigs a couple years ago, and I processed that myself right on my kitchen table a week before Thanksgiving, and then served that same ham a week later on Thanksgiving to my family, or our families. So we do that. We haven't done pigs for 2 years, which we really need to do. I really need some sausage in my life. And we shop at Costco. We have one in diapers. So we shop at Costco. You can get a big old huge box of diapers for like $40, and that lasts us like a month or 2 almost right now with him. Same with wipes. They have a big old box of wipes we get there, and that lasts us a long time. I also use cloth wipes and just spray water for the pee ones. I only use the Costco wipes for the dirty diapers. Other than that, our reoccurring bills, we keep to a very bare minimum. We have our power bill. Our house is all electric, except our furnace is propane. We buy propane once or twice a year, but we also have a wood stove, and we buy wood throughout the summer. A guy my husband bowls on a league with will give us a truckload of already cut, seasoned wood for $100, and he delivers it. Can't beat that deal. And he loads up the truckload. He's our friend of ours, so he makes sure we get a decent truckload. So we've bought 3 or 4 truckloads from him just over this past spring and summer to stock up for winter. We hope to use mostly firewood this winter and not have to buy 2 tanks of propane, only 1 tank of propane, because that would save us like $600 a year. So, and then we don't have a water bill. We're on a well. However, our well does go dry. We have a very shallow well, so we do haul in water, but my husband goes and gets the water, and it's like $2 for 300 gallons. So it's not horrible. Our animals, the feed that it costs us, I do give our cow, we have a dairy cow, and we have about 70 chickens and 6 ducks. Their feed I get from a local feed store. 50-pound bags are like $17 and change plus tax for a non-GMO feed. That's pretty cheap, really, for this day and age. Same for the cow. Her grain, she only gets a couple pounds of grain when I'm milking her. Otherwise, she's completely grass fed. And so I sell a couple gallons a week, like a gallon and a half every week, and then, save that money up in an envelope, and I use that to pay for her grain. Same with the chickens. I sell a couple dozen eggs every week. My husband's got a guy at work who buys 4 or 5 dozen a week. Plus I have another family who buys some when their grandkids are over and whatnot. And I save that money in an envelope, and that goes directly toward feed. We barely have to pay for any feed out of pocket right now with the amount of milk and eggs that I'm selling. We do have to cover hay all winter, though. So I've actually just recently started putting money away for hay. Anything extra that I don't spend on the feed goes straight to an envelope, and that will go toward hay, because it is about, this year we'll only have 1 cow, so it's about $7 a bale. Hopefully it stays about that this winter. And she eats about half a bale a day, plus her grain when I milk her. So $7, $7.14. So it could be $20 to $30 a week in hay just for her. Winter is long. We're in central Illinois, so we have 27, 30 weeks of winter or something crazy or more. I don't even know. So I did want to quickly go over the cost of living in Illinois, just so that you guys can understand. Maybe, for those who don't understand, people in California, they think I'm just lying through my teeth, or that I'm just full of crap, that there's no way we could afford to live on one income. The cost of living in Illinois is pretty low. Well, where we're at in Illinois, obviously there's Chicago. That's like its whole own state up there. But Tazewell County has a score. They have a score system, I guess. 100 is high. Our score in Tazewell County is 79.3, which is 20.7% lower than the U.S. average, and 15.4% lower than the Illinois average. Typical home in Tazewell County is $147,900, which is 56% less than the U.S. average of $338,000, and 38.8% less than the Illinois average of $241,700. Our house was $125,000. So the average rent for a 4-bedroom home in Illinois is $1,210. The average rent in the U.S. is $2,160, and the average rent in the state is $1,890. So as you can see here in Tazewell County, it's just a lower cost of living. I meant to look up the average income in Illinois, but I forgot to do that. Like I said, my husband's been at his job for 19 years, and he started out minimum wage at $7.25 an hour, and he's just worked his way up. He's now the branch manager. It's a small, somewhat, there's 2 independent owners. It's not a big corporate place or anything like that. It's just but it's a solid job, and he gets a company truck, and he gets a company phone. And I honestly count that as about $30,000 a year in income. If you take what he might have to pay for fuel and for insurance and for a cell phone, that's probably close to $30,000 a year, or a car payment, whatever, maintenance, all of that. He's on his 3rd cell phone in the last year because he keeps breaking them. At work, he does a hard job, very strenuous job. And so, he goes through phones. He gets a boot allowance, $100 a year boot allowance. Not everywhere does that. So I count that as a huge chunk of change that he technically makes, but it's not taxable. We don't see that income. We just, drive the truck. He just drives the truck. But that makes a huge difference. Our van that we have, it's a 2010 Chrysler Town and Country. We paid $3,000 cash for that 6 or 7 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And my husband does all the maintenance on our vehicles, and he just, you maintain it, you take care of it, and it'll take care of you. So we're still trucking along in that bad boy, and she gets us where we need to go. Other than that, my 17-year-old has a truck, but he doesn't even have a license yet. It's just an old beat up Chevy truck, but he doesn't even have a license yet. So, he doesn't drive it. Our car insurance on our van and that truck that just sits, the truck sits and the van is just cheap liability. It's like $46, $43 or $46 a month. Our power bill is our most expensive bill, and last month was $228. This month was $313. It's been very hot here, like 90s, with very high heat index, very humid. So, and when I saw that $313, I was like, oh, excuse me, go turn the air off right now. I'm like, I turn the air off and on every day. Every night I turn the air off, and then I don't turn it back on again until it starts to get too hot during the day. I'm telling you guys, I'm very frugal. I